Morning, guys. How are you? It's just gone 5 a.m. here in the UK. I've been up since about 3 o'clock. I went to bed really early last night. I decided to just lay down for a bit of a snooze around 5 p.m. last night. And then I woke up and I was like, is it time to wake up? Is it the morning time? And then I remembered, I was like, oh, yeah, wait a minute. I went to bed last night really early. Wait a minute. What time is it? And it was 11:30, so I actually just kind of like got up, wandered around the house, and then ended up going back to sleep. So today's share, there's a real kind of collective confusion. It feels that this collective confusion is probably going to be an ongoing energetic pickup, you could say. So those of us connected to collective consciousness are just feeling, sensing, and aware of the hive mind kind of breaking apart. Hi, Matthew. How are you? So the breaking apart of the hive mind, this sort of incessant noise. It's like this when back in the day when our TVs would go blank and it would just be like whitewash, like shh. Well, and hive, you think of an insect's hive. What are they? Bees or wasps or hornets, and they have their hives, and then the swarm, the sound of the swarm. So we have this programmed hive mind that is terribly confused and yet still just like going through the motions of life, going through the patterns of the motions of life as if it's we're all just again these sort of powerless slaves in this world that we're all trying to get ahead of. We're all trying to not get ahead of, we're trying to move forward in, or we're trying to get more from, we're trying to be more recognized, we're trying to yeah, just have more, get more, compete with one another, be right. And that's something I'm working with, as far as like that, the inner pressure valve within us that has that sort of insane ambition to be recognized, or to be achieve, to be achieving in such a way that we validate the ego's sense of self. And obviously in that context, I'm talking about the arrogant ego, the ego that places itself above and below, separate from other. And then I'm hearing as well, separate from our heart's desire, because often we might accumulate stuff, it doesn't mean it's in alignment with our heart. Matthew, I'm well, thank you. I feel in the last few days, at least, the energy's lifted for me here a little bit, and I'm just aware of sending lots of love and compassion for people moving through more storms. There is definitely an ancient clear out happening right now. I've been affirmed by one of you mentioning that, like, deep ancient wounds, and me too, the last increasingly probably in the last week, when I've been triggered or just like moving through time and space, there seems to be this like real heavy. And when it comes through, I often think it's like coming from my bones, like we're carrying that DNA right down to the core of our bones. And so sometimes with these transitions, it's not necessarily as tangible in as far as a memory of a past life, or certainly our direct parentage and that lineage. And so we could reflect upon our childhood and the upbringing and our parents, and observe perhaps our programming and patterning around that lineage. And yet it might be a little bit more tricky to discern the lineage. So going back 7 to 14 generations, depending on our own soul's contract. And yet our ability to be processing, transforming, and clearing all that in the present moment is our ability to be the witness to it and choose to see it and be thankful for it, and basically recognize that you can let it go, that we're going to continue to move higher and up and more loving and more harmonious and more expansion, not the other. We're not going back into the darkness. We're actually being guided through a tunnel, as it were, certainly as we're in these at last days and or early days of um, the age of Aquarius. So moving into these greater, more loving harmonics is kind of like what we're all here for. We're here for the ride to go from this dark, divisive, like frightening age where we killed our prophets and we raped and pillaged the land and we massacred the innocent folk, and then now we're moving out of those dark times, and as we're transitioning, it's like we're healing all of that prosecution, we're healing all of the self-denial, and in essence moving into greater unity, so we dissolve the conflict in our own heart, right? Yeah, Matthew, yeah, that's like my life. You just got to test the waters, that's it. Like, um I really do, and that's just a nice reminder as far as like how, yeah, it's never as bad as we can imagine. It's often not even like as bad as the visceral feeling, but like holding space for it. It's like we do want to reclaim the sovereignty of our experience as the creator because we can have more fun with it. And once we start to test the waters, we do little trials and errors, we start to feel a little bit more safe in our container, i.e., as the one perceiving our experience. When we're still, I think, having a lot of trauma, a lot of maybe shit's happened to us, we're yet again facing unresolved aspects of our soul. We're facing conflicted aspects of our soul. All of us, this whole physical playing field is a whole bunch of beings in this infinite universe descending to earth to grow and and to unify and to integrate their own soul. I have this recognition in this moment of like, yeah, my soul chose, and every aspect was a chosen destination. And then in that experience, my own soul is like, tick, well done, on to the next. And like we keep doing that, and sometimes the deepest darkest wounds, well, not sometimes, guaranteed every time, the deepest and the darkest wounds, the people who hurt us the most, the experience that seem the most traumatizing are the ones we, you could say, are like most profoundly contracted to, because they're the gateways. Those are the initiations. Our ability to face our own demons, and that could be people and situations, that could be um bodies of people, that could be organized, and that, by that I mean organizations, and that could be simply our own self, by buying a ticket or by quitting a job or by, but often I do, especially if you resonate with the empathic people pleaser path, you'll resonate with the breaking and or the breaking of the pattern, or the self initiation into greater harmonics through sovereignty, and claiming your divinity. It's sort of like one and the same thing. You'll be asked to face situations, you'll be asked to sort of say no, or say how dare you, or say that is your shame, that's not my shame. Like you're we own the truth of our heart and we express it, and that is like the initiation. And so we have the rings of fire, you could say, that we have to kind of move through. Hi, Rochelle. Hey, Mike, how are you? That we have to move through for our own self to liberate ourself into the greater flow of our own existence, which is us kind of like dropping into this more loving grace, which then, like, there's seriously visceral moments in these last 3 to 4 years or so where 3 years more, but where it's like I literally feel like my body is being carried by energy of love. I was just like, "Ooh." And then that once I hit that stride 3 years ago, I knew there was no going back, and I knew that I'd like hit something in this sense of like liberation, where I was like, oh my god, it is tangible. So it's like that also sort of demystified all of the, I guess you could say, a lot of the detached teachings where it's a lot of words, but you're just like, but what is it leading to, or what is it, da, 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 or how does it feel, or da, 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 and then you'd have teachers or whatever guides kind of just regurgitating lingo, right? Oh, nice, Matthew. And that could be an aspect of your path. That's just and I don't I kind of feel that as well. Like we might all dip in and out of different aspects or archetypes of the self, right? Where we're being guided and where we are most suited to fit for a phase of our lives, right? Yeah, so we pass through, face the self, move into greater unity, and in the heart space, in that liberation flow, it is you reaching states of beingness that you knew you could reach. You just maybe forgot, but you were slowly following the breadcrumb trails. And then once you kind of anchor in or lock in, or nothing can really, unless you really want to go back, nothing's gonna pull you back unless you give the power to the illusion outside of you or even your own manifested beingness, right? It's being the eye, it's being the witness or eye of the storm, it's being the silent witness, it's being the divine light from within, shining light onto your totality of experience in order to refine the subtlety of your awareness when it comes to the vibrations that you carry. And your entire world is a reflection of all that you are, of all that you carry. And that's where, of course, the human ego has a really difficult time facing the shitty stuff they don't want to think is part of who they are. They want to just push it to the side. They want to demonize us. And this is where we're going to loop it back in. However, if you've been clear, if you've been open, if you've been reaping love, if you've been or sowing rather, if you've been sowing love in your world, if you've been endeavoring to act with kindness and compassion to those beings that you face and see around you for most of your life, then we're moving into these times of great waves of miraculous benevolence for the meek, for the people who have honored the heart space, honored the altar of Christ ultimately, right? And this is where we move into the unity of the self as the one creator. There is no separation. If we're going around preaching to everybody else about how we have to be in this world, then we're externalizing the self. We're demonizing stuff out there rather than seeing the unity in all there is. And it doesn't mean that we have to uh, deny people's shitty behavior. If there's shitty behavior, there's shitty distortions going on. And if it's hurting you, you can walk away. That's what self responsibility is, right? Rochelle, story of my life. Story of my life. Like so many of us empaths here are kind of driven by that. Like this, I just want everyone to get along. Why can't everybody get along? Because we were part of our early trauma impact was parents around us not getting along, or people moaning, bitching, complaining, conflict, fighting. Those or like people or parents classic this would be a classic early childhood wound for so many, but like our parents coming home from a really hard day at work being mega aggro and then kind of like snapping at the child for wanting to watch TV or doing something, and the child then goes and there's this part of us that freezes, that shuts down, that disconnects because that that childness, that exuberance, that innocence was kind of going, don't you be innocent. You're wrong for being that free. You're wrong for being that light filled. You better, quieten down. You better get serious and you better grow up or whatever. And so we all get traumatized. The essence of our spirit is traumatized, so we disconnect from it. And depending on our path, our flow, we tend to try real hard to get along with the world or to get stuff because that's what we're trained to do, go make it happen, go make your dreams come true, by slaving yourself, by indenturing yourself to a system that wants to invisibly siphon your life force from you, while we all pretend that's not happening, right? And we ignore various issues around the globe because we're all too fixated on chasing the gold, as it were. And that is the ultimate illusion of the devil, right? That's the ultimate illusion of that which deceives us, is us denying that we are the creator, seeking the gold of creatorship externally, in the money we make, in the jobs that we have, in the relationships that we attach ourselves to, in the possessions we attach ourselves to. And yeah, that's not the divine aspect of creation. That's the ultimate teachings of someone like Christ. It's the ultimate teachings of any teacher. It's not has nothing to do with dogma or religion or the word from the Bible, because the word is just a bunch of humans trying to kind of remember what the guy said, and then, like, it was like this, wasn't it? And like there's just it's just like Chinese whispers in essence, right? So really it's about us letting go completely. That's the end of the age of Pisces. We let go of externalizing our gods. We let go of externalizing our idols. We let go of externalizing self, because the self is the unity with the all that is. The self is your God. You are your own God if you choose to allow yourself to love. People say, God loves you. Do you love yourself? Because you are the God in your world that has to love you. And if you're going to love you, things get better. If you're going to continue to judge, if you're going to continue to hate on, if you're going to continue to preach and externalize that everyone out there is doing it wrong and I'm the only one who knows how to do it right, then we remain bound to the low density physical patterns of the age of Pisces. And yet, if we're all here having this chat, it's more than likely we've been on this path, transforming a bunch of stuff, kind of hanging out with people at a different times in our human history, including the prophets, the priestesses, the blah blah blah, whatever. And now we rise into those states of consciousness. We remember those intuitives. We remember ourselves as the mystics, as the priestesses, as the gods, as the priests, right? That are in true service to our brothers and sisters here. Which only, and again, it don't mean like I have to get rid of all my material possessions, be a bum on the street, and just care for the children like Mother Teresa did. Our service doesn't look like anything what we've been programmed to believe it does. Our service is just being in alignment with the truth of our heart and sharing from there and being free. There's an element here of our ability to play and enjoy life and celebrate the existence that we are together. And yet, we're still in this healing. We're still in this mass healing of awakening, going, yeah, and then remembering to integrate and continue to move it forward. So I suppose this is actually like truthfully a real share of like we are protected. Even when shit hits the fan and even when everything seems like it's going berserk, we are being divinely guided and we are protected. If you're here watching this with me, then this is a message for those of us here, and that really we'll just keep doing the work that we're doing, keep sitting with the self, whenever there's a biofeedback resonance that's triggering fearful response, terror, panic, shock, bitterness, jealousy, fear, unworthiness, any number of shames and guilts, then sit with it and be present with it and use the light of your awareness to say, I love you and I'm thankful for the teachings. I'm thankful for the burdens that I've carried throughout my life. And yet here in the now, I'm ready to let it go. I'm free from the shackles of my past. I'm free from the shackles of the burdens I chose to carry. I can let them down. I can let them go. I can let them fall away. And they do in the etheric realms. The chains that we carry can fall away, and then we become even more present to the love that we are. And this is true. Yeah. Hey limitless love, how are you? Yeah, we are. And it has been, and we've come back over and over to keep like proving that to ourselves, right? That the fear is the constructed illusion that we place outside to reintegrate the power and the truth that we are. Because it's this awakening, reclamation, emancipation experience that is probably one of the most divine in all of the universe. I initially just wanted to say on the earth, and then I'm getting, it ain't even that, it's the whole universe. This incarnation experience in human form on planet earth is like the juice of universal laugh. People are watching, beings from around this universe are like congregating to watch the unfolding of Earth's stage. And this is one of those moments where I'm sharing simply intuitively, listening to the sharing, going, wow, wow, that's us, you guys. That's us on the leading edge of creation, going, woo! And like, for whatever reason, externalizing our power to the point of us going, yeah, And then wait a minute. We are the only power, right? So we just like dig in, boom, boom, rise up, ah, and then we like shine bigger, bolder, creation codes into this realm. And here we are, really at the beginning of a brand new phase with Age of Aquarius and Uranus, and Uranus moving into Taurus on Wednesday, and then huge, not just our own physical manifestations and abundance and anchoring into more stable foundations, but then even like on the mass global level, we've got a shape shifting economy, we just there's just such huge huge shifts that have been happening that we all feel like limitless love, feeling it all, right? Like we're all feeling it all. We're on any given day, we might be true, we might be letting go and shedding, and then expanding out. And then on a global level, right now what I'm feeling is really just the anchoring and the love presence. That is all we need to do, because if we try too hard to figure it out, and if we try, and if and even more, us holding space for another, if we go into the fear of the story of it, or the confusion or the chaos, or the like, "Ah, let's get out," it's like that's not necessarily useful, right? It's like it's the presence, the trust, the faith, and the love, because the love is what's going to help organize us to move into these next phases with awareness. And as long as we have awareness to stay in that anchored space, then we won't get pulled off into some of that hive mind distraction, which isn't anchored in anything real, i.e., it's not, if anything, anchored in that old system of control and dominate and fear and greed. Anything anchored there isn't anchored on earth anymore. It's not embedded here. It's not real here. It doesn't really actually at all in its vibrational essence have a home in alignment with earth. So we bid the system adieu, or we bid the system rather, I want to say we bid the energy of conflict out of our lives. We bid it adieu. That's what I want to say. We bid it adieu. We bid that energy of divide and conquer, control and manipulation, fear, shame, guilt, just division. Divide and conquer is a big one. We just sort of bid that inner conflict adieu. Like, thank you for the last 2,000 years of massacres and persecution and burning at the stake. So much love. Well, more like I salute you. Thanks for the experience, heart, love, vibrashe. And then like off we go, skipping into the fields of daisies and rainbows. Yeah, Rochelle, this is why I love just like the open forum, right? It's like, and we all have a different way of working out, processing, and seeing that which is the unconscious. And so, yeah, and I would say that, and I would say that resonates with me in my own life. Like when I talk about being blindsided, like me naively being like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna manifest," blah, 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 blah," and then like something comes and blindsides me, and I'm like, "Ah, you're not that." And you're like, "Ow, ow, ow," and then you're just like, and you realize, oh shit, that was a whole bunch of subconscious, right? That was a whole bunch of either collective programming or unconscious or whatever, and then we face the fear in that moment. That's why I'm legit like honoring. I'm like, we literally can totally heal and transform our lives just just by feedbacking off of our external world. We don't need the external healer stuff, except we just get guided into those situations, right? Yes, limitless love. Thank you, right? No more. It's not ours to carry, because we are it. And if we've been facing it and loving it, facing it and loving it, facing it and loving it, shedding it, envisioning something different, gosh darn it, we deserve to drop that and love our brothers and sisters from this place and go, okay, if there's still burden in you, you can shift it. And we can be the light. We can be the teachers by example, by being more light filled, by being more joyful. And people will go, what the fuck? What are you taking this morning? You're like, well, actually, I'm just like a joyful creator because I've reprogrammed my mind to see the world from a perspective of love rather than hatred, right? And I know that the human being has been talking about this stuff for decades, right? And yet, this is the illusion of time. The illusion of time would have us think that it's going to happen at some point down the road, or something or someone's going to come along and do this or that. And that does occur. We all know that. That does occur. That's why our presence is like the ultimate. Just be in the here now and deal with whatever shit is happening in the here now. If it's joyful, love it. If it's not so joyful, love it. Be with it. Be with the full spectrum of that which you are, and then you can direct your consciousness with more efficacy. Hey Roots! Hey girl, I saw one of your videos. I want to go watch it actually. Um it was something about YouTube's unraveling, and it just the title totally resonated with often what I feel in that kind of like just the collective stew of energy, and like more smart people kind of waking up to the hive mind. Anywho, let's get to that another time, won't we? Nice one, Rochelle. Me too. I dig it. That's what I'll be using it. The efficacy. That's where like the smart side of me comes out. Limitless love. Yeah, nice. Shaking it all off, get the stagnation off. Yeah. And that's where I get a lot of the feeling of the ancestors, is that it's subtle, but it is a different backlog that we're shifting when we're shifting. So for me, just personally, I feel into me healing patterned ancestry, especially because both my parents are adopted. So I really, really, really have no conscious like exact information about where my lineage comes from, but there you go. I had these awakenings. I'm guided to England. I'm pretty sure there's like Celtic, Scottish, or Irish bloodlines, and like often I'll go horseback riding or go for a woodland walk, and I just get these like, it's like my body's been here before, but I'm not having like I'm not having a past life memory. And when I've cleared past life um, karma, it's much more like visceral because it was my experience, like of a different constellation, right? And then well, certainly the ancestral stuff, i.e., shifting the genetic coding of the ancestral patterning, for me personally, is much more in my body. I literally feel it as density like in my cells that I've carried, and this has been like part of like the body image stuff. But now as I grow into maturation, I'm aware that I'm like, now when those patterns come up, I could default into like, ew, I'm gross, or ew, I feel disgusting. Instead, I'm like whole space going, whew, like what is this heaviness? And again, it would be shame, or it would just be like weight. Like in the simplest of, whether it's metaphysical or physical, it's the same, because it's all an illusion of the sensory, you know, attachment to that story. And so, because I'm so detached from that story, because I've fixed my divine form, it's like, or crystallized rather my divine form. I'm just aware of moving through these belts of energy where my ancestry is becoming more aware and showing itself. So a lot, again, it's burdens. It's same. Whether it's our past karma or ancestry or something we did last week, in the here now presence, if we're feeling shit, we're feeling shit. And so it's better just to be like, alive, even in the shits, right? Ooh, interesting. Ooh, yeah. You guys, Salem witch trials for me. Yeah, but that is, the witch trials come up a lot. And um like the chase, being hunted down. um and then weirdly, these last few weeks, I've felt a lot more stuff weirdly in my back body, and I feel like that's representative of a lot of this is behind me, but there's still stuff kind of residue holding on. And that shedding it was even going horseback riding a couple days ago, and having this feeling of like, moving through the woods and addressing and seeing more of these scenarios being played out, of running, and like being being taken down, and that like that fear is still kind of lingering, and I guess it's just being present with it. And then even saying here with you guys, it's like when we share it, we're kind of offloading it. I feel like we can kind of unburden ourselves just by expressing stuff that we're carrying, and then saying like, yeah, we don't have to carry it anymore. Whenever it comes up, we can let it go. Gosh, sometimes I just think to myself, the fact that we're feeling each other, the fact that we're communicating, that we've never necessarily met in the 3D, that this is just some random nobody person like sharing heartfelt, like, does this make sense to anybody out there? And then there's people who respond to the call. You're like, damn, holy shit, you guys. It's like really cool, really exciting. But then that's where we get the kind of the broader galactic celestial self remembering. We're like, ah, oh my god, like there's so much excitement, there's so much unfolding, um for the light workers, I guess you could say, for the beings who always knew that we were that this was an unfolding for humanity, that the story of like this is how it is was never that true at all. And it was just people who wanted other people to believe in it. Shh, it's just the way it is, it's just the way it is, it's just the way it is. And we're like, but it actually is really, really, really not the way it is. That's hence why you can't, in as the collective rising and evolution continues, nobody's going to be able to hook back into that old construct of I'm just going to manipulate you. People be like, fuck you, buddy. I'll go find work elsewhere. It's like if you're going to treat people from a place of lower frequency, more and more and more beings are just going to be like, yeah. And so those fearful, controlling, we're ooh, what happens when there's nobody left to enslave, right? What happens when there's no one left to, because everyone's been like, we're good. I don't want your diamonds. I don't want your blood money. I don't want your fucking slave clothes. We're just like rising up to this. And then I don't want your plastic. I don't want your, right? And so then it's like, it's obvious how things will go in that right, limitless love. Thank you. And do you, and so do you. I feel that. um that's really kind. I've had that a couple times recently, people just watching stuff and reflecting back, which you got, your guys' intuition must be picking up on my stuff, because the amount of love and just kindness that I receive from you guys often, very, very often, like 99% of the time, happens like in the perfect timing. Some of you guys send me private messages, some of you guys send me like emails, and then when I show up here and you're here and that da 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 da, like it's all one. We're all connected. And like when you guys say that, I like, yeah, it's times where I probably really need it. Like I really need like a little boost to be like, keep going, we love you and da da da. Like, that one. So, there's still a lot of that. I'm looking down at my paper at one of my shares from maybe like a week ago. Empaths unite and rise. There's just such a mass healing happening right now, and a lot of our I feel I'm getting a little emotion. Our like innocent heart love purity is like ultimately what's healing the world. And us empaths, I think there's been a lot of like emotional suffering and confusion for most of our lives. And like finally there's like a little bit of clearing. There's like a little bit of clear space for us to go, like we made it. We made it to the safe spot. We made it to the paradise. We made it to the oasis. And now we just get to like get ready for the big party, you guys. And like heal heaven on earth. And then like lead by example. And just be in the Eden place. And let the people let more and more people find the Eden, which we radiate from our heart field, and or it's an actual physical place on earth. Probably a little bit of both, I'd say. Hi, Melissa. Oh, yeah, it's so much mega heart love vibration, you guys. Um, Michelle, I love you. Oh, interesting. We'll have to feel into that around your son. Oh, so straight up as well, I'm reading about your fire in the hip chakra. That I was getting that loads when I did Vipassana. Like super uncomfortable actually, like burning up. So burning probably would be locked in anger and rage. So there's a processing happening in the hips. You're probably shift well, I know this as well, that there's a change in direction, that you are changing direction. Hips can often flare up if we're making a pretty structural shift or change in our lives. And then any unprocessed, and again, whether it's yours, the collective ancestor, right? We don't necessarily intellectually need to know, just be with it. Heat is like anger and rage being processed and released from the body, which will just open you up. It will open everything up to move, I would say. Um, and just be in the now with it, right? So that's all we need to do. Pardon me. Yeah. Yeah. More balance, open to receive more. And then that will kind of shape shift it, right? And then I get like all like chuffed when I'm like, see you guys chat, and I'm like, you guys all love each other. It's like a lovely soul family. So you guys, that's it. Check my coffee today, by the way. Rochelle, this is very relevant. I'm glad you said that, because if it's just not obvious, like if the intuition isn't obviously showing us this life, this constellation of people, as in from past life, or this is ancestor. Like I was saying, horseback riding. It's like these last 2 days, I've just had specific guidance that what I'm clearing now is ancestral stuff, like in my body, my physical body, which is why it feels more dense than some of the other patterned releases. And I'm definitely getting that as well, affirmation. And it's weirdly not for me, but it's like around the collective, which is about you guys, because you guys are part of like my soul family, I would say. It's that yeah, if you can't root it out, it's definitely you're absorbing impact from the collective and clearing it out that way. So just if it's not one, just go like, is it this? Is it? Collective storming, especially because you're in nature, you have a strong presence, so you can do that, and you know the work, right? So any disparity in your proximity, which could be your entire state, it could be your entire side of the country, that you could be picking up not just earthly stuff, but then in the ethereal realms as well, my friend. Yeah, only because I know when it's, like, uncomfortable, and then, like, because we're aware and we're conscious and we're doing this work and we're like, "What the fuck?" And then that one is always a piece. It's a really good reminder that we're all one, and that if there's people that can't do this stuff, that there are some of us who are actually like, boom, boom, like getting the impact of the energy flow through us, right? Yeah, 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 you are, and there's work brewing there for you, or, a bunch of us, who knows? There's definitely probably places on the planet that I think a bunch of us will be guided to as it all unfolds. Uh, and that will be congregation, organization. It's all the same. This is the thing that's so wild. We're already doing it. We're already on the path. We're already doing the work. We don't need to do anything different. We were forced to surrender this stuff 10, 20, 30 years ago, and we're just literally anchored in, ready, holding space, being present with the field as and when, and then we will see. We will see, right? I love when you put the time, 9:44. That looks like me on this, right? We are right now in this moment. Yes, this is the presence field, right? And that presence field is always the protective guidance. And that's looping us back to the title today, which is like, we're being guided and we're being protected. It's just we're at this new phase, and there's a lot of new energy, which might even feel unfamiliar for a lot of us as star seeds, because it's not. I have this intuitive awareness that I've never been here before. I don't know if you guys ever get that. Like, I've never been. I never got to this point in a lifetime. As in, I was always taken out before my 36th year. In fact, I'm almost certain I was always taken out before my 33rd year, because when I got to 33, I was like, oh my God. Like, I knew I'd like hit this thing, and I was like, I've never been here before. Like it's so exciting. Limitless love. Okay, you're on the East Coast. Right on, Melissa. That's right. Yeah. Rochelle's on the West Coast. No kidding. We're heading into this timelessness, and yet I'm aware of that as well. Because I have friends in their 60s and 70s, and then I don't know. It's so weird. More and more, so our personal chronological ages have not to do with anything that the system told us about chronological linearity age. It's all to do with like just our probably more to do with numerology and like different turning points in our lives. Maybe I'm not sure. I'm gonna brew and noodle. I'm gonna noodle on that because I know that I'm being called to definitely astrology, maybe numerology. I'm not sure. I think there are other wizards out there around numerology, if I'm honest. So, ooh, good, Rochelle. That's really good. Like, because I think a lot of us feel that way. I actually feel that way as well. That like I'm gonna like, or this is my point of attraction. I become more and more an example of divine love radiance. I become more and more beautiful with each passing day and each passing year. Like my body is always regenerating itself and is always a divine reflection of my perfection. Of like, so I like literally just reel off the self love vibes and make it as positive and awesome. My income is always increasing effortlessly. I make loads and loads of cash to splash and give and share because I am myself. And that is how we all are the most valuable commodities on the planet, is by being the truth that we are. I'll continue to share, you guys. That is all I can do. Right. We are eternally youthful because the spirit of us doesn't, there's no age. That's again, it's just constructed reality from Matrix land that we're all like, ah! And then embracing. And I'm moving into like just also loving the body in its phases as well and feeling the ebbs and flows, and yet disengaging the attachment to low level bass tone patterns that make me feel like shit, versus embracing and reprogramming the mindset to be this regenerative vessel that is like shiny, happy, and super radiant and reflecting about me like, oh my god. And yet from the old construct, from a spiritual perspective, kind of not using our bodies to power over. So not being like, I am teetotal, therefore you should buy my programs, or I manifested the perfect female body, therefore you should buy my programs. I don't really res with that. I res with just like, be the shiny example that you desire to be unashamedly, and actually working through shame and guilt can be quite powerful. Anywho, you guys, I'm so effing rambling. It's bizarro. Oh my gosh, you have twins. Ah, that would for sure keep you on your tones. 11. So they're at this sort of transition. I remember my age. I remember me going through quite a transition between like 10 and 12. And then her 13, there was another kind of transition. But you guys, yeah, I bet. I don't have and I don't know. I'm not completely closed off to having children. It's never ever been a priority and it's never happened. So right, limitless love, right? And it does work like that. Our pattern shape shift. I don't have control, and I refuse. If I have the feeling stuff come back up, I refuse to go back into control patterns, i.e. I need to go on a diet, I need to go exercise more. No, I rest and I love the body. I love the memory of the cells of stuff coming up that are like making me think I'm disgusting or ugly or fat or whatever my biggest fears are. I just like, I see you. I remember you. Like, I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for all the teachings because it's the energy of my cells that have been my greatest teachers, right? Oh, brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, shedding the pounds of shed the negative talk, and then be present with the field of the body, be present with the stuff that we don't like or the things that we don't like. I'm gonna like, I love you. So, oh my gosh, sometimes like I watch myself and then I imagine my 20-year-old self watching me now being like, oh, cringe, ooh, who's that girl? And I'm like, oh, oh, and I don't care anymore. So it's just so beautiful. Yeah, limitless love. Like, it's weird because 'cause I'll, like, reflect on a day and feel like I've eaten substantially, but I'm more of a grazer, and so, like, I'm a grazer to the point of, like, I might have maybe in a day, like, 1 big sit down meal, either breakfast, lunch, or dinner, like, at some point, and there's no rhythm or pattern, but at some point, usually cyclically, I have quite a lot of hunger, and, like, I'll find myself, like, I want a big breakfast, or I just want to eat loads, and I enjoy the vegan burger and chips or whatever. It's delightful. And then I naturally flow through maybe just having smoothies and like nibbling on some nuts throughout the day and like making something, and like I might have like a little bowl here and a little bowl there, but I rarely find myself sitting down and eating like huge amounts of food even as a vegan. And I do. I just like go grazing. Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like I can feel at the end of the day, like I've eaten loads and I'm full or I'm just satiated. And I'm like, I know that I feel nourished and loved and well fed. Um, and and yeah, it's a lot for me. And then it's only people reflecting back. They're like, do you eat and anything? And I'm like, to me, I'm eating loads, but other people, but it's not like I'm emaciated, I'm like we have presence and a crystallized form in these bodies which we're committed to. But the old construct of our being enslaved to food and exercise is not. We have to navigate it intuitively, right? I know, Rochelle, you've said that. That's really nice of him, I think. As in, this is another probably example of like the good times that we're in, is that people that maybe weren't open to it before are now cooking our veggies separate. That was maybe, I'm speaking out of my perspective, certainly, but like there was a time that people really kind of like resisted the vegan in me. Were like, how dare you? Why you're so annoying with food? Why do you have to be such a nuisance and trouble? And I'm like, I just don't want to eat that. Just leave me alone. Just let me eat my thing. So it's nice that we can just sort of be more civil about this stuff. Hey, Kurt Mill, how are you? Um, yeah, this Kurt's making me think of something clearly, um, but it's something I think I have to go back and noodle over. Yep, it's not coming in. Anywho, you guys, and checking my phone, Rochelle. Okay, you guys, I love you so much. Thank you for being here. As always, you're my family. There's a family here. Like I feel that, you guys. And some of us I feel like we'll probably continue to work together and like share more information and do creative projects and all of that kind of stuff. So thank you for being here. Those of you who've bought Spirituality Simplified, thank you. And any of the other donations and stuff like that, you guys, it keeps us all going over here in England with All to Love. I love you guys so much. Well, I got sick from the flu my family had. Kurt, you mentioned that last time, my friend. Oh, bless you. Yeah. The flu vibrashe can really just like, boo. You're having a shift, my friend, as well. Okay, good. Great. So you had a collective bonding experience through your body clearing out some junk DNA. That's how I see our collective sickness bugs, is that they're actually clearing out our DNA so that we can be more clear and more aware. Nice one, Kurt. Okay, everybody, have a beautiful day. I'm going to look at that email, by the way. Have a beautiful day, you guys. I'm so looking forward to just meeting you one day out there in the actual world. But otherwise, it's here that I feel your presence. I appreciate you so much. And I'm wishing you a really happy, 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 happy Monday. Happy, 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 happy Monday. 555. We're done.